so we have our next session on representation and storytelling. And I have with me Caprice Crawford of Crawford Talents. And we also have shortly Ozi Menakaya, who is a film and TV agent, founder of the African Initiative at CAA, working with actors from across USA and all over Africa, he said, but he's coming on Zoom. So we will start with an introduction from you, Caprice. And have you got a mic?
Hello. Hi.
Wonderful.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out to see me or hear me. I'm Caprice Crawford. I've been running Crawford Talents agency since 2016, and I'm based in Berlin, Germany.
Well, that was really brief.
Well, I don't know. What else can I say?
Wow,
ask me questions.
I said to everybody really brief, but you definitely win the really brief intro. Okay, so how did you start as an agent, though?
How did I start as an agent?
Yeah.
How did I just...
Did you just, wake up, I'm going to be an agent?
No, actually the idea, personally, I can tell a lot of stories, but the truth was, the idea was for someone else, actually. I always had a passion of helping people in their journey of their careers. But I met a Brazilian woman, and she was a caster, and I noticed that she was looking for certain talents in Berlin that I thought was hard to get by. And then I said to her, you know what, you should start your own agency, and I help you. And then we started the journey, and at the end, she didn't want to do it anymore. And at the end, I kept doing it.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, well done to you.
I know it's a shorter version of that.
Have we got Ozi? Not yet, pas encore. Okay. Pas dessus? I can't. Okay, we continue. We don't have Ozi. So tell me about how you work. Do you focus on a specific type of actor, or are you, wholesale everybody and lots of variety? What is your taste?
What is my taste? Also, first of all, I don't have one taste particularly. Everybody is their own individuum. So when my clients do come to me, that I have a Marusa, I have a certain je ne sais quoi that I can feel that is missing, is lacking in the society that we have in a film, how do you say, skyscrape, in a film, Landschaft, oh my gosh, my English, landscape, in a landscape, I feel like I always pick the one that, what am I saying? I always pick the ones that I feel like is missing, that people need.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
Cool. And since you have started, where you started working with somebody, and now you're on your own.
Yeah, I never worked with her. When I launched alone, so we never got to that point.
Right. Okay. But what have you noticed have been the key changes in the industry from an agent perspective since you started?
The changes?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can only speak for myself. I cannot speak for other agents because I was never an agent before. So what have changed in the last 8 years that I've been doing the agency is the diversity that I see in the movie landscape that we have in Germany.
Oh, okay. We can rewind a little bit.
Miss?
Ozi, can you hear us? Yeah, fantastic. So we just had a little introduction from Caprice. So could you give us a little introduction to yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. First, I want to say thank you guys so much for allowing me to be a part of your Afro Berlin. It's really an exciting experience. A little background on myself. I do like to start off with my full name. My full name is Ozi Menakaya. I am Nigerian American, based here in Los Angeles. I created the African Initiative at CAA, which really is a focus on the African voice, no matter where they are at in the world, or they're based on the continent, or they're a part of the massive diaspora that we do make up. We're trying to ensure that we have, or that our creators, our writers, our directors, our producers have the resources to compete at the highest level.
Nice. And how long have you been being a manager agent?
Yeah, so I've been at CAA for about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I did start in the mailroom, spent 5 years as an assistant learning the systems. For the past 5 years, I've been at the helm of CAA Africa.
Wow. And I just asked Caprice what changes has she seen in the last 8 years in the industry from her perspective, being, from her Asia perspective. What about yourself? How have you seen things move along?
Yeah, I mean, I started at the agency. I started in the industry in 2014. In 2014, I worked for a talent agent named Fred Spector. Right, he reps your Morgan Freeman, Danny DeVito, Helen Mirren. He's at the highest of the levels. Right, and so I spent 2 years on his desk, and so I do believe I have a good understanding of where the industry and how it was moving about 10 years ago to now, where I am an agent. Right, and I think the biggest change would be the international appetite of the buyers. Right, I don't think that we were as fluent in co-productions and international material, be it local for local or local for global, as we are today. Speaking specifically to my vertical of the business, which is African filmmakers and Arab voices. 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I don't believe we had as much opportunity for our voices to be heard at a premium level, or for our stories to find homes on premium distribution avenues as we have today. Of course, we still are, we still have to figure out how to include ourselves into these mediums. But I think, 10 years ago, we would have seen a lot more closed doors versus today.
And how do you think, where do you think we are? Do you think we've peaked in terms of diversity? Because it seems to be a really, a word that everybody's saying, but are we sometimes, from my perspective, being from the UK, I sometimes consider this to be a box-ticking exercise. So have we really peaked now? Are things going to get worse or better? We still have changes to do, I think, in terms of representation. What do you think to that? This is for both of you.
Speaking to the African story or the Arab story, I don't think that we have begun. I think that we are at the very onset of what this is going to look like for us. And I did talk about how, international has been a big change in the past 10 years. But I'll also say that, when I first came into this business, I remember people talking about how binge watching could be bad for our health. Like watching 5 episodes of TV back to back to back. How, people like how we haven't done that before, and we don't know how that is going to affect us internally, right? So today we are so far removed from that, and I think that technology and how we continue to develop it is going to force us to have, or maybe not force us, but it's going to enable us with more opportunities for different types of content, right? And I think that when you look at the African voice or the African situation, you look at 3 of the major filmmaking territories, be it South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and these filmmakers are really forced to be creative, ingenious, to figure out ways to create their own content. Nigeria, for instance, doesn't have backing, doesn't have funding or financing from anyone, right? And so all of it is independent filmmaking, right? And so I think that it is beholden upon us to try to figure out how to fit ourselves into these mediums, and I don't really believe that we've begun. We've seen a lot of attention go to South Korea. We've seen them go to Mexico, places in South America. I don't really believe that we have been targeted in the same way. I don't believe that we have really taken advantage of said opportunities as we will moving forward. So to answer your question, I am really excited about where we're at. I'm excited about the future and what it holds. I don't really believe that we have really put our foot down, put 10 toes down on the ground, and announced the African filmmaking industry is global and we are here to stay. I don't believe that we have truly begun.
Thank you. And Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I agree with him, but I come from a whole different place because I am African American and I have an agency. My roster is not just Afro American, it's all diverse people. So, but to see the TV landscape here, yes, it does need a lot of work, and we have to start from the writers, from the beginners, from the money makers, from the money givers. We have to start from the beginning on to write these diverse scripts where we don't have just tokenism and a token Turkish guy, a token black guy, a token this. We need to open up that we have different shows out there.
So, so in terms of changes you'd like to see, it really starts with the writing.
Yes, of course, it starts. It starts from on top.
And yourself, Ozi, do you have anything to add to that in terms of what you'd like to see going in 10 years' time? What would you want these to be saying in terms of how things have developed?
Okay, so I mean, in 10 years' time, I think that the overall industry will have changed. This is one thing that I tell people. I think that we will be residing in a more global wood versus, Hollywood, Bollywood, Nollywood. I think that, forces will have joined from all over the world to figure out how to tell stories that are globally consumable, but also a little bit more cost effective, right? And so by virtue of the global industry really coming together, I think that our voices will find. I don't see how we won't find ourselves in our own role in that global filmmaking industry. But specifically, what I would like to see is our own stories, consumed at a global scale, celebrated in the same way as we celebrate South Korean stories today, or Brazilian stories today. And I do think that a lot of that is going to come by us being creative and figuring out, what be it co-productions or figuring out partnerships with the biggest players, in terms of producers that will allow us to utilize them as vehicles into the, buying system and into the overall marketplace and allow us to, receive budgets that are a little bit more competitive. And then, distribution that is more like similar to our players here in the U.S.
Thank you. Caprice, your client list is really international. How do you navigate that?
How do I navigate it? Very easy.
But
that's a big question. Yeah, what do you mean by navigate that? I mean, I navigate it as of, not everybody's looking for the same person.
Yeah, but it just seems so vast, like so many different countries. And are they, when you're placing them, are they focused in specific regions or focused in Europe, the work? Or?
I mean, it's everywhere, thanks to Zoom auditions, thanks to the global network that we are having, thanks to different platforms that we are using. And of course, we have different unions and I have to take care of everything because not everything is fitting. We have somebody in the Ukraine, he's still in the Ukraine, and he happened to do a TV show, Netflix show, and in London. How are we gonna get him over there? From a territory that's in war. And luckily, that production said yes, and we got him in and out of there, and he was able to work there. So we navigate with all kinds of different mediums, actually.
And the advent of like a live audition seemed to almost be a thing of the past. Yeah. To be honest, has that expanded your work?
For me, it's a blessing, I would have to say. And people have a bigger opportunity to be seen everywhere in the world. And we booked many series regulars because of that reason, because of not having to fly across the pond, for instantly in Hollywood or vice versa, go audition over there, being able to do callbacks and all that stuff via Zoom.
Yeah, thank you. And Ozi, what are the differences in your approach when you're working with clients so you've got US-based clients, but you also have clients across the continent, African continent, am I right? So do you have to work differently in terms of where they are working or where their focus is?
Yeah, well, the majority of my clients are on the continent. So 90% of my clients are 8 to 10 and 11 hours away from me. Right. And then you have a very select minority that are based here or based places in Europe. right, that are part of the diaspora. So the majority of my clients are international, are not based here in the U.S. And so for me, I mean, I think that technology allows us to communicate, right? And so I use WhatsApp on my cell phone a lot more than I use my office phone in talking to my clients, right? And then, of course, when I'm speaking to producers here in the U.S. or buyers, then I'm using my office line. We can use, Zoom or other VC avenues to set up meetings, to set up generals, to set up even pitches, right? And so that will allow, one of my clients to, let's say we got a guy in Nigeria, I can partner him with, let's say, Plan B, who's based here in LA over Zoom. And then we can, target a French buyer for our African project. And we'll set up that pitch via Zoom, and then we'll look for, a production partner in South Africa, and we'll set up that via Zoom as well. So I think that technology really allows us to engage internationally. For myself, I just have to wake up earlier. I got to go to sleep sooner. I have to be really disciplined.
Okay. Coming to something that, it affected, I think, everybody. How did the SAG-AFTRA strikes affect you in particular, Caprice?
For my union actors, depending on what passports they have, you know, a little bit. So we have, anybody from the union here? No, nobody's here from the union. But, we have people that are from the union. They may have a EU passport, and then they were able to work in the States instead of America. But since I'm an international agent, it did affected us as well, of course. Mm-hmm.
And yourself, Ozi?
Yeah, well, part of our business, is setting, like I mentioned, setting up co-productions or trying to figure out ways into the domestic buying system here in the West, trying to get in front of these major buyers. And these major buyers, they respect, they respect, big names. And we weren't able to really attach ourselves. We weren't really able to drive this part of the business because we weren't able to approach, set names, right? And so we didn't shut down shop entirely. The focus became on local for local. Right. And so we have local buyers like Netflix Africa. You got your Amazon that was previously there. So that's who we began to approach and really try to package material in ways that were more attractive to them. And, as we've seen, the local marketplace continues to fluctuate. We've seen buyers come and go. Right. And so at that part of time during the strike, we weren't able to utilize our true playing field.
Thank you. And how can a forum like Afro Berlin and the Berlinale itself support the work that you do?
Support the work that I do?
Yeah.
Well, it's different. We just had a agency event with the different agencies together. I'm not sure if they're supporting us. I mean, I'm happy to be here right now.
Expand.
Huh? It's probably great for our actors and us. I mean, it's a melting pot. Like Cannes, at every festival, you meet wonderful people. It depends what you do out of that, the people and the meetings that you have. So,
yeah, and the same to you, Ozi.
I think that informing like-minded individuals and executives on opportunities that we believe we would all be interested in, makes a lot of sense. And I think that the community that gathers at Berlin is one that is definitely international. And as you've heard me say, co-productions many times, I do think that the conglomeration of individuals, that do attend a festival like Berlin Film Festival would allow us to engage in conversations that would activate said co-productions. And I do want to mention one thing. I think that there is a lot of opportunity for German Afro co-productions or opportunities. There's a film named Borga that we recently sold, or CA Africa recently sold, and that was a German-Ghanaian co-production. I'm sure that there were some other territories involved in terms of pre-sales, but it was a beautiful film. The German producers were fantastic, and I think that we need to make sure that the German community knows that we are here and that we're, really excited to activate on further opportunities that would mirror that.
Oh, it's gone off. Oh, it's on. Yeah, I just have one more thing. How do you think the advent of AI being used do you think that's a long way away, or do you think that's something that concerns you at the moment?
Yeah, of course it's on. Yeah,
Yes,
it is concerning us. I mean, we are asked all the time if we're doing projects, if we are able to have our actor be and we always say no to that as of now. So yes,
absolutely. And yourself, Ozi?
Yeah, I was going to say I don't understand AI just yet, but let me tell you, we've struggled this far to be able to tell our own story, right? And we've seen other individuals, other communities tell our African stories for us. If they could utilize AI to begin to tell African stories, I feel like that would be an absolute travesty. So maybe I need to do a little bit more investigation, or I need to, educate myself better across AI, so I could come in with a more informed response.
But thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience to Caprice or Ozi? Person? But that's it.
No questions from the audience.
Thank you.
You're not allowed.
We're being cut off.
She said wrap it up.
We will finish early then, I guess, unless you wanted to share anything else. Or
no, I'm fine.
You're good. And Ozi?
I like to talk, so
sure.
give me.
I mean, Ozi, can I just say I did like Ozi? Hello, it's Caprice.
I don't know. Give me anything. Ask me a question.
No, I did like the film Boga that you were speaking of. The film Boga with Eugene Boateng. Eugene, no?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a fabulous film.
Best actor in Germany.
Yeah, it was a great film. That's all I wanted to tell you.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. I think, here's the thing, right? So Borga talks about, or I'm Nigerian, right? So Borga, I think, is more of a Ghanaian term, but it denotes a young person whose ambitions are to go to the West and come back to Ghana as a rich, flamboyant type of person. And so it's basically, I've been able to go abroad and now I am flamboyant, right? And growing up here in the U.S. with parents from Nigeria, all I ever wanted to do was to fit in, to mirror my peers that were of the West. Right? I wanted to distance myself from anything that was uniquely African. Right? And when I turned 14, my parents took me on my first trip to Africa. Right? We were going on vacation to Nigeria. I thought that it was going to be a great thing. I was like, I'm finally going to be in an arena where other people are going to look at me and put me on a pedestal because of where I'm from. Right? I went to Nigeria, and that's not explicitly what happened. Right? I'm with other people my age, and they didn't put me on a pedestal just because I was from the U.S. They wanted to understand what I could provide, what I could do with my abilities. Right? But what I noticed while I was there was that although they didn't give me that type of respect that I thought that I was going to get automatically, most of my peers had similar ambitions. And most of our goals were to leave Nigeria and go to the U.S. or go to other places in the world and make something of ourselves and come back and be flamboyant. And I thought that when at 14 years old, when I was in, boarding school in Nigeria and everyone wanted to leave, everyone's goal was to leave, I thought that was unique. Right. And so I just want to say one thing. I think that film and TV have the opportunity to really influence the way that we see the world. But I think that more importantly, for Africa, I think that, the importance of authentic film and storytelling is because it's going to influence the minds of our youth. And when you look at Nigeria, per se, Nigeria has a population of 210 million, where our population is expected to outdistance that of the United States by 2045. What's really interesting is that the median age is 18 years old, right? And so I think that the purchasing power across Africa, especially in the digital age, is going to be something that is going to be highly valuable. But also what that youth population, what that purchasing power, how they feel about themselves where they want to invest, where they believe the opportunity actually exists, is also going to become very important as well, right? And so I think that, yes, we have an opportunity to tell these stories, to make money off of it, to have a great career. But I think that for the youth and for Africa itself, there is an emergency. There is a need for authentic storytelling that is going to inspire us to be better versions of ourselves, inspire us to want to take care of our communities, inspire us to want to stay home, or to want to give back. Right. So,
Thank you,
CAA Africa, yes. Sorry?
Yeah. No, they're telling me we got to finish.
Oh, sorry. I thought that we had like 45
But that was
minutes
really
or something.
good.
But yeah, sorry. I'm just passionate about what we're doing. So thank you guys for allowing me to speak.
It was great. Thank you so much.